How y'all doing out there in video land? This is part two. All right. Let's get down to it. Code 4. Let's break it apart. Let's break it apart and get the wet sanding and polishing. Let's break this one apart. What you're going to need is a T6. And I can't remember if it's a T8 or T10. T8. Yep. All right. We're going to do some work on this one. We're going to trick it out. It's new Snaggletooth parts. Do a little polishing, wet sanding on it. Or wet sanding and polishing. Wet sanding comes first. I'll probably start off maybe like 600. I don't think I'll need too much. Can't remember. I think I started with either 400 or 600 last time. Look there. There we go. Brand new, people. Very well built knife. Very well built. This is even if you don't change the backspacer, you know, if you just want to leave it like a gentleman's carry or a regular EDC knife or utility knife or what have you, whatever you want to use it for. This is a 6061 aluminum backspacer, like they put in all the best cold steel folders with the triad locks. All your top of the line cold steel folders with triad locks usually will have the heat treated aluminum backspacer, and that's what this one has. It's a great value, people. It's a great value, you know, right now. I don't know if it's going to be a permanent price. I know the regular price is around $100 for one of these, but I don't know if that's going to be the permanent price or what. I always like to let's take a look at and see what size these pins are before we pull them out, so we know where they need to go when you replace them, when you reinstall them. Don't really need to pull them out. I just like to know, just like to pass on the information to you guys, because all we're changing is the backspacer. The backspacer. All right. Zero it out. .405, 4.05, people. Let me see if I can do it so you guys can see it too. That's for this pin right here. 4.05. Okay, now the stop pin. The forward one is your stop pin. 4.46 or 4.5 millimeters. This is in millimeters. 4.46 or 4.5 millimeters. So on this model, the big pin goes to the front. Always remember your big pin goes to the front. That's all you have to remember, people. You got, as long as you know that, then you're gonna put it back together right. And right now, also the groove pieces are up. So that's the way you put it back together too. The groove pieces go up. I'm just going to take off the washers here, just off of this one, just because I don't want to lose them. And that's your other pin. This is your internal stop pin right here. That's your internal stop pin. So don't lose that either. That's what keeps the blade from hitting the backspacer when the knife closes. This is your torsion spring, and usually, yep, I am gonna, this one's got burrs on it. So I'm gonna take the burrs off. And the reason why I do that is so it can be nice and smooth, people. That's the reason why I do that. Helps out with the smoothness. All right, so that's another thing we got to do. We're going to deburr that. I'm going to take the pins out just so that I'm out my way. This one doesn't want to come out, so I'll leave that one in there. I've gotten the habit of stopped using so much Loctite because I don't like the way it gums up the threads and stuff like that. And sometimes if it stays on too long, it really glues in. Because Loctite to me is like a glue for metal. And I like to take apart my stuff and modify things all the time and stuff. So I don't want something to be permanently in, held in or whatever. And I won't have to take heat or whatever to loosen things up and stuff. So I stopped using the Loctite. I don't clean off the Loctite that comes on the stock screws or whatever. I just leave that on there. I just don't add any more. Now, if you have a knife that has an issue, though, I could totally understand why you would want to do that. I could totally understand. I'm going to leave all the screws in it so I know exactly where things go. And this is the backspacer. You got a little pin in it, and you want to get that pin out. There we go. So a little tiny, tiny pin. I'm not even going to hold it over the carpet, people. Well, maybe. A little tiny, tiny, tiny pin. And this is a pin that goes into your liner, your handle scale. So I'm going to set it right here. I sort of want to set it back in the knife. Let me see. Yeah. I'm going to set it right here. I know what I'm going to do. Sometimes, the best thing to do is to keep all your parts, especially when you got little tiny parts like that, because I know if I dropped that into my carpet, it would be gone, people. And so I'm going to keep all the parts separate. Pull all the pins out. Pull all the parts apart. These screws are long. See, that's another thing that you want to remember. Usually your pocket clip screws are always the longer screws. Those are 3 long screws. Now, they all look pretty long, so they all look like they might be the same length. I guess we get this out. That's in there, so I'm gonna leave it in there. It's okay. I don't think I would lose that. This piece we're gonna polish. So I'm gonna go ahead and set these parts aside. Those parts we're not doing anything to. And set my tools aside. All right. There we go. All right, I'm setting up, people, so I can start polishing. Start wet sanding, and I keep saying polishing, don't I? So I should be saying start wet sanding. We're gonna work on this part, and we're gonna work on this part, and we're gonna work on this part. We're gonna work on the blade. Set this out of the way. Need my pan. I like to use these. These are perfectly flat, made out of glass. Got them at Home Depot. I was actually looking for like a piece of marble. I had a piece of marble before, but I dropped it and I broke it. So I stopped using that. But yeah, I just like to find, you know, anything that's perfectly flat will work. You guys been wanting to know how I do this, and this is the way I do it. It's labors. It's not something I do super fast. It's not super simple. It's not super easy. You know, it requires a lot of labor. So if anybody was saying it was super fast and super easy, well, it's not. Get a rag over here so I have something to lay my tools, my parts on. This is the main part I want to do because I'm gonna make it match everything else because the metal finishes are different. I want to make everything look the same. That's my goal here. Let me see if I can bring you guys in a little bit closer, huh? Okay. All right. All right. All right, let me see. Let's start off with some 600. $2,500. Put that over here. There's some 600. Just get your paper nice and wet. And you can use your paper more than once. That's what I'm doing here. I'm using this paper more than once, people. All right. This is the paper that I used to do the last one I did. All right, I'm gonna start right here. I like to put it nice and flat. And that's the reason why you get the flat glass, because you want to keep things nice and flat so it stays nice and flat and square. We're just gonna do a little bit of this, people. I just want to show you how I do it. And you work it until you get the dull finish off. The reason why I'm starting with 600 and not something less, I could actually start with 400. I think that's what I did last time. I started with 400. But you got to remember, the lower you go in your grits, the more scars you're going to have to remove later with the other grits. So it's actually easier to start off with the highest grit possible. So then your scratches will be smaller and it won't take so long and it'll be less laborious. That's the way you beat the laborious part. Because, you know, if you start off on something that's already smooth and you're using like a low grit sandpaper on it, then that's going to make you have more labor to get rid of all those scratches that you put into it. So you made more work for yourself. Don't really want to do that. I guess we're going to have to make a separate part too. I forgot about that because wet sanding and polishing is different. That's two different videos. But you can see it's the finish is starting to come off. I'll be doing this for a while, people. It's going to take a while. Because like I said, I like to start with the finer grits. If you go into the lower grits, they'll take off the old finish a lot faster, but you got bigger scratches to deal with, though. And I like that glass. I like that glossy mirror type finish. And the way that you get the mirror type finish is that you want to use the finest, get up to the finest grits that you have. And what I have today, the finest grits I have today, let me see, let me show you. 3,000, so we can go up to 3,000 grit today. And I have all the other grits all the way below that. So we're going to go from 600 to 800, from 800 to 1,000, from 1,000 to 1,500, from 1,500 to 2,000, from 2,000 to 2,500, then we're going to finish off with 3,000 grit. And that's what I'm going to do to all these parts. All these parts. They're going to get that same, they're going to get that same treatment, people. Now I'm not gonna bother you, because it's gonna take me a few hours to get everything the way I want it. You can't do it instantly. So I'm just showing you, the steps, what I do. Nice sunny day today. Cold though. How's it in your neck of the woods? This is Northern California, 916 area. Nice and sunny, but it's cold outside. Cold California cold, people. I'm sure not. It's not Minnesota. It'd probably be Michigan warm. But out here, we're used to the heat. So when it gets down in the 50s and 40s and stuff, it's cold to us. I remember when I was stationed in Germany, only a couple months out the year, it got up to like 70. And it felt hot. Because I was used to the snow temperatures. The first year I was there, though, I was freezing. It was cold. Second year, it didn't bother me. My body, I guess, adjusted to it. I knew how to dress for it. Getting there, almost there. Almost got all that other finish off now. It still looks dull because we're not into the polishing sandpaper yet. 600, even though I guess you could sort of call it polishing, but I don't really call it polishing. To me, it's 600 is more like what you use to remove stuff. I call the polishing grits when you start getting to like 1,000 and above. But below 1,000, to me, that's more like for repair work. Like if you have something like this and you scratch it in the future, you could always repair it. That's why I sort of like the raw finish stuff over like having something coated. Because I can't recoat something, but I can repolish something. And make it look nice again. If I damage it a little bit. I do like the way the coatings look, though. You know that. Especially that OG purple. I like the OG purple. It's like a royal purple. That's my color, royal purple. I like dark purple. All right. All right, now you can see where I'm going with that. Now we're going to go to a different grit of sandpaper. I don't want to sand this side too much. This side right here, all I'm going to do really is just buff it, people. This part up in here, I will sand it. That's the part that's exposed. But this is the part that rides in between your handle scales. And I don't want to change the fitment, so I don't polish this area. I just like, like lightly polish it with some like 3000 grit or my highest grit, and just enough to just so I can buff it out and it'll sort of match everything else. But I don't really worry about having a high polish or anything on this area right here or in the inside right in here. I'm just worried about this right in here, all along out in here, in the ring. I'm not even worried about the inside of the ring too much, but I will polish that a little bit, but I'm not too worried about that because that's kind of awkward. Number one, it's kind of awkward to get to, but the easier parts to get to will be this part right in here because I can just flat sand that. What I mean by that is just do like this. I'm not going to sand the part that goes inside the handle scales. Use your flat, sand on your flat piece of whatever you have. Maybe a piece of marble or a piece of glass like what I'm doing, or whatever you may have. Anything that that's perfectly flat. Now I see why I went to 400 before. I'm going to go down to 400, people. Because this coating on this is pretty thick right in there. So let me get some 400 out. It's a 2000 grit. Thousand. 180 grit, 400. What are these? 2000, 2500, 320, 320, 220, 400. What I do with this, people, I just take off, scissors, because I'll need this whole piece of paper, sandpaper. So I just take off what I need, so I'll save the other piece for, next time. Go and wet it up. Now you can hear that. Now I'm making more work for myself, just like I told you before. But let me see if this, oh yeah, it's starting to take it off. Okay. All right. I'm going to stop right here, people. I'm going to go through the different sandpapers, just like I told you before. I'm going to go through all the different sandpapers. And I'll probably end up, I'll show you like the final parts. No, I'm just gonna go ahead and polish, wet sand everything. The next video will be polishing. Everything will be wet sanded and ready to be polished. All right, people. Peace out. Stiletto.